You're good to go.
Okay. Hi, April. It's good to see you again. I know we talked a little bit last time about your background and some of your history, um, but we didn't get a chance to address the current issues that you're struggling with. So I wanted to hear from your own perspective what is the biggest struggle for you right now? What's the biggest stressor?
Well, living in a new city and starting a new job is really taking a lot of a toll on me emotionally. I have a lot of anxiety about that. Um, I watched all my friends get jobs even before we graduated, and then I just struggled so hard to get a job. And um, when I finally did, it was across the country. And I'm just having a really hard time feeling like this is the right move for me.
I can imagine that feels really isolating to come out from college and move straight across the country, not knowing anyone, starting a new job.
Definitely. I mean, I lived with my mom. She was a single mom for so long, and I lived with her. And then when she married my stepdad, I finally, had this family life. And, a few years later, I went off to college and I lived in a sorority. And this is really the first time that I'm just going to be all on my own. And I don't know if I can do it.
Yeah, that sounds like a very scary experience, especially for someone who has never lived on their own before. And it sounds like the anxiety that you're experiencing is valid. We all go through that when we experience big life changes. And my role for you is to provide some new coping skills, some support around that, and learning how to regulate those emotions when they come up. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about the anxiety you were experiencing. Everybody experiences anxiety a little bit differently. So I was wondering if you could tell me how that shows up for you. What does that look like physically, the thoughts that you're having, etc.?
I think mostly I just don't want to get out of bed. I don't want to face the day and face the stress that I know is just waiting for me whenever I get up and look at all the things I need to do. When I was in school, it was easy because, I had assignments and everything was mapped out. And now it's all me.
Yeah. And I hear that often, that for your whole life you've been told what to do, even in college, right? When you're supposed to be learning how to be on your own, you still are scheduled. You have people telling you what assignments you have, where you need to be, what you need to do, and suddenly it feels like the floor has just kind of dropped out from underneath you.
Yes, I feel very unstable.
Yeah, then that's completely understandable. So what we're looking to do, in addition to managing that anxiety, is to build a good foundation for you where you feel like you are in control, that you are safe in your environment, and that there's good things about your situation, and those can be stressful as well, but ultimately this is a good outcome. This is a great opportunity for you to have this new job, this new experience.
I feel like I'm supposed to recognize that, and it's just there's so much pressure that I'm not getting to that point. So I think that's really the most important thing that I can do, is find a way to really appreciate the accomplishment that I've made.
Yes. And I think that's a great idea, is to look back and see how far you've come, because often when we are in stressful situations, we can only see what's right in front of us. And sometimes when we take a moment to zoom out from that and see, how far we've come over the past 2, 3, 5 years that you were in school, can really be empowering and show you just how strong you are.
I like that message.
Yeah. So, one more thing about anxiety. Sometimes it can help to understand how anxiety works in the brain, and it can help you learn how to control it a little bit better. So I'd like to share a few tips with you if that's okay.
I would like that. Thank you.
Okay. So what happens when you experience anxiety is that your brain goes into a fight or flight reaction. And it doesn't know the difference between you interviewing for a job or moving to a new city or someone being seriously hurt near you. It just knows that you're on red alert, that something's wrong, and that you need that, or it thinks you need that rush of adrenaline to support you. And those are some of the physiological signs we see with anxiety. When we feel anxious in our body, we might get cold sweats, we might get dry mouth, definitely have that heart rate go up faster, might even be a little shaky or dizzy or nauseous, right? And so what we can do to counter that anxiety and let our body know that we're okay is to come back to a logical state. So I wanted to share a technique with you called a grounding exercise.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of that before?
No, I haven't.
Okay. So grounding is just a fancy word for reminding your brain that you are centered and you're connected to logic instead of emotion.
Okay.
You're sensing what's around you and you're reminding yourself that you're safe and that you can switch your brain from that really emotional place to things of logic, and that can help you to calm down physically and emotionally.
Okay.
So if it's okay, I'd like to try this with you. This is called the 5 senses.
Okay.
And so I'm going to ask you to name some things out loud.
Okay.
Can you please name 5 things that you see?
Okay. I see
Zoom around.
a photo on the wall, and there's a computer nearby, and a trophy, and my flip-flops, and my phone.
Perfect. Now can you name for me 4 things you can feel with your hands, 4 things you can touch around you?
My hands are on my legs. I can touch the armrest of the chair. I can pick up my phone, and I can rub my nose.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, 3 more. So the next one is 3 things you can hear. And you might need to get a little bit quiet for this one to hear subtle things in a quiet room.
Okay. I hear my stomach growling. The dog snoring. And the computer humming.
Okay, perfect. 2 more. Ready?
Yes.
2 things you can smell.
Chewing gum. And my hairspray.
I usually go for my hair. It's real easy. And then the last thing is something you could taste, and I'm guessing it's going to be your gum.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, great. So that is going through the grounding exercise of the 5 senses. How do you feel after that? Do you feel any difference in your anxiety levels at all?
I feel like my mind went to a completely different place. Instead of being in this bubble where I'm thinking about all these things that really aren't even happening right now. And then we went through this exercise, and it put me right here in the room, right in front of you. So,
right.
Yeah, I definitely feel different.
Good. I'm glad you can sense the difference. You can kind of feel a little shift in your mind when you bring it from that really emotional place to a place of logic. So, April, we're coming up on the last few minutes of our session, but one of the last things I wanted to talk to you about is how are you taking care of yourself? What kind of self-care do you have in place, if any? And if we can help add to those skills.
I haven't been really doing a lot of self-care. With the move, it's just been work, 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 worry, worry, worry. And I really keep thinking that I need to explore the town and find some places that I might like to go and experience. And I just haven't gotten to that point yet.
And I'm sure with moving, you have a giant to-do list, and you have boxes to unpack.
Yes.
And, changing your address and making sure you have everything you need, all that good stuff. So it's hard to find time for yourself sometimes, isn't it?
Yes.
So there's a couple of things easy things that I'd like to suggest to you. One of them is, even though you have those big lists of things that you need to do, I'd really encourage you, almost as an experiment, to put yourself first this weekend when you have some time to yourself, and maybe leave a box packed up, and instead, like you said, take yourself out for a little date on the town and play tourist, because that can be really refreshing after a move, after being in a town that you don't know much about. Orienting yourself is really important, and making sure that you do something fun, something without a necessary purpose, but just something that makes you feel good and makes you feel happy.
I like that idea a lot. I think it would really help me if I'm just not working from the time I wake up till the time I go to bed.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, I can definitely do that.
That sounds good. Well, before we go, do you have any questions for me that I can answer for you?
Off the top of my head, I really can't think of anything. I appreciate you just being here and talking with me and listening, because I think just having someone listen was really important to me today.
I'm glad I could be a sounding board for you, and I hope that you can use some of the skills we talked about to help you through your week.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll see you next time.
Okay, bye.